So if we take, first of all, the question which lots of us are thinking about following the decision by the Prime Minister to merge DFiD with the FCO, could you tell us your thoughts on the merger in general? And perhaps looking at it a bit more closely, the Prime Minister said when he announced that the merger was taking place that the distinction between diplomacy and development was outdated. Could you perhaps touch on that as well?
Yes, this was a decision or a possible way forward that I wrestled with when I was Foreign Secretary. And I think it's a genuinely very difficult, finely nuanced decision. And I'll explain why. I mean, I'm, like you, a huge supporter of international development, big supporter of our 0.7% promise. And the reason I hesitated to advocate this when I was Foreign Secretary is because DFiD is a world-beating organisation. I mean, it is respected as the premier international development organisation of any major country, and it does Britain proud in many parts of the world. So I think you always think carefully before you want to make a change to an organisation that I think really has earned its spurs. But I also think it's true that the world has changed quite a lot since DFiD was set up. And when DFiD was set up, you know, the primary focus was to end the grinding absolute poverty that was prevalent in large parts of Asia and Africa. Not the only places that it was present, but those were where the largest concentrations of that poverty was. Since then, and, you know, we all think back to the sort of Band-Aid days and the amazing 2005 Gleneagles Summit, where huge work was done on HIV/AIDS. But since then, Africa and Asia, pretty much everywhere, has caught the capitalist bug, and they've worked out how to develop strong and prosperous economies. And really now what we've got is a battle for ideas between the autocratic development route and the open society development route. So what I found as Foreign Secretary was that what I was advocating for when I went to African countries was as much about the freedom of journalists, for example, avoiding political repression. There are other development partners like China who are increasingly strong in Africa who ask no questions at all about governance or human rights. And I did find that there was sometimes my voice wasn't as strong as I wanted it to be because I wasn't the person speaking with the checkbook. That was the International Development Secretary. So I think as Britain increasingly advocates for the importance of open societies, for freedom, for liberal democratic values, we want to speak with as powerful a voice as possible. And increasingly our development effort is going to be on those broader agendas and not just the issue of poverty, important though that is. And I can see that bringing the two departments together could give our Foreign Secretary that stronger voice, as long as in the process of doing it, we are not in any way seen to reduce our commitment to tackling the grinding poverty, which still remains a scar on the face of the world.